AA6DD, K6YYL.
K6YYL, AA6DD. Yeah, Kim will talk. Her and I are going to talk about how to have fun on 10 meters. It's quite a phenomenal band. It does require some patience. It does require getting some good equipment, antenna-wise, up in the air, and some good equipment in the shack. But when you have that, you can have years of tremendous enjoyment on operating all the different aspects of 10 meters. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, very good, very good. So go ahead and say whatever you want on 10 meters.
Well, your idea of going across the spectrum, I think, is a good one. The first 300 kcs of the band from 28 to 28.3 is the A1 emission CW, but it also has computer codes in there. Bow dot, ASCII, PSK31, all these weird digital modes that technicians can get on as well. And they can get on CW even if you're using a software decoding system. You can get on and operate that mode as well. And of course, technicians have a power level of 200 watts. So the closer to 200 watts you get, the more and easy you can talk to locals, and the more and easier you can work DX. So there are beacons throughout that entire spectrum area as well. That are what a beacon is a continuous CW transmitter identifying the station and where it's at. So you can tune across the 28 megs to 28,300 looking for signals, beacons, and looking for the Fox Tango 8 type digital code, which tends to be coming through quite often, and tell if the band is open or not if you want to use a single sideband phone. Or, of course, you can be down there using those digital modes. Any comments on that, Kim? AA6DD, go ahead.
AA6DD, K6YYL. Very good. Yeah, and I love 10 meters and the beacons. I love that because sometimes you can just tool around there and hear the beacons coming in, and you'll know that 10 is open, at least to there. But I don't always rely on the beacons because the band could still be open and you're not hearing any beacons at all. So there's that too. But it is fun when you hear a beacon. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's not enough. So when in doubt, always call CQ. Or when you just have the time, call CQ. 10 meters can open anytime, 24 hours a day, and any time of the year. So always call CQ. Generally speaking, a lot of people listen to 28,400 for contacts. So listen on there or call CQ on there. If somebody comes back to you, sit there and talk to them. You can beacon away back and forth, always open for other people to break into the QSO and join in. Or if they hear you talking on 28,400, they can always move up frequency or down frequency a bit, 5, 10 kcs, and call CQ themselves and expand what's happening on the band there. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, yeah, exactly. AA6DD, K6YYL. Yep, exactly. So go ahead. Good points.
Yeah, there's. You'll hear some people say that you have to move off of there, but we don't. We consider it a QSOing frequency. You've got to have activity, and sometimes opens are so short. If you move off, you won't even get the contact. So I don't recommend people moving off. If you hear somebody on there that tells you the band's open, move up frequency and call CQ. Or join into the QSO that's happening right there. Nobody will yell and scream at you if you want to join in. We all want you to join in. it's one big happy family of respecting everybody else's rights and privileges to be on the air. And secondly, it's also a good idea because of the way skip is on 10 meters. We have dead zones that we skip over, and somebody could be talking in a dead zone into an active area for you, and they're talking, and you don't hear them, but the person they're talking to will hear both of you. So if you start calling CQ, all of a sudden you're jamming their QSO. So when you do come on anywhere on the band, always ask, is this frequency in use? And the other station that's part of that other QSO will come back and say, yeah, it's in use, old man. So here again, you know it's open. All of a sudden, you know this guy came back to you, it's open. Well, move up frequency and start calling CU again. K6YYL, AA6DD.
Very good points, Will. AA6DD, K6YYL, very good points. And go ahead.
Technicians have a nice 200 kCU's worth of spectrum for phone there, from 28,300 to 28,500. So that's what Kim used to call her, how big her sandbox was to play in. And then when we go above 28,500, we have to be a general class or higher at the present time. And you will find that here again, the predominant mode above 500 will be sideband phone as well. And that's pretty well the way it is, all the way up to 29 megs. 10 meters is a big band. You go all the way to 29 megs where you have single sideband phone. And upper sideband is the predominant way you do it. You utilize upper sideband and not lower sideband. No, it's not illegal to go over to lower sideband. It's just customary to be on upper sideband, so you match what everybody else is. Once we get to 29 megs, a lot of old-timers hang out there on amplitude modulation AM. And so you go to 29 megs, call the CQ on AM if you're a general class or higher. You can go really anywhere from about 29 to 29.2 and find AM activity all through that area. So here again, the kind of calling frequency, finding a QSO frequency is right around 20, just above 29. 29 itself, 2910, 2920, right in that area. Same situation, ask is the frequency in use, and if it's not, then call CQ. As you go on up from there, around 29.3, you start hearing FM contacts being made. When you're above 29 megs, you can do full 5 kCD FM. Is perfectly legal for generals and above. And so in the activity level starts at about 29.3. The calling frequency is 29.6. Here again, you make QSOs on 29.6 and talk to anybody and everybody and join in, share the frequency with everybody. But once in a while, it gets a bit too crowded. When that happens, then the alternate frequency is 29.5. Then you go over to 29.5 and you tell everybody on 29.6 calling you, I'm going to 29.5, follow me over there. There's the frequency getting really crowded here. So you go to 29.5 and you start talking to everybody. And same situation. If it then gets terribly crowded on 29.5, then I go ahead and have people chase me over to 29.3. And then anywhere, you can go all over the whole area, plus or minus from 29.3, and work people on FM. There are repeaters up in this area. You want to talk a little bit about the repeaters? I don't know if you've had too much activity. I operated them. They're going to be more prevalent as the sunspot cycle goes up over the next 5 years or so. There'll be a lot of repeaters coming through on 10 meters. They're all FM mode, though. All the repeaters are FM mode. Any comments there, Kim? K6YYL, AA6DD.
Thank you, Will. AA6DD, K6YYL. Yes, there are repeaters there on 10, of course, FM, and sometimes you can have a ton of fun with those as well when sporadic E comes in and brings those repeaters in from, say, New York, and you know the PL and everything, and you can work those repeaters sometimes on sporadic E. Even Sean has done that. Sean was KI7KX, now a silent key. But yeah, we were on, they're working New York, a repeater here from California, and he was in Oklahoma. So funny things can happen.
Yeah, sheer magic. Well, it's not the 6-meter magic band, but it has its own magic that you can do. So let's talk about what kind of equipment we need to take part in all this. Generally speaking, I don't recommend radios with less than 50 watts. I don't recommend any radio that's not all mode. So you want to have at least 50 watts or more, and you want to have all modes. There's lots of radios that choose out there in that range. Generally speaking, they're $300 and up for such radios. That meets a minimum requirement I consider one needs. We can talk about specific radios as we go on here. So I know what Kim would recommend. So let's turn to Kim and have her recommend some radios, and I'll do the same. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, well, AA6DD, K6YYL. Well, for sure, I would recommend, if you could get your hands on this, Kenwood 480HX. I would definitely recommend this, but this one is now no longer in production, sadly. I'm really disappointed in that. But then I would also recommend the ICOM 7300, a very popular radio. Really love that radio. I would also recommend, if you can get one, the Yaesu A57D. And I think the Yaesu 450. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, we should describe those in a little more detail. At least right now, the ICOM 7300 you can get for right around $1,000. And these are all band. We're talking about 6 meters all the way to 160 meter all modes. So let's talk about in that category radio. And they're even. So you got to realize it's $1,000, but you're going to use this for a decade or more, and so it's a very little amount of money per year. So we're talking about $100 a year for such a phenomenal piece of equipment. Now you will need at least a 20 amp power supply for these radios we're talking about, and always buy a power supply that's higher current than you need, because you may upgrade your radio to a 200-watt radio or something, and you need the higher current. So there's no such thing as scrimping on the power supplies either. So it's minimum 20-amp power supplies. Even if you have only a 50-watt radio, you want a 20-amp power supply because you may upgrade. The Fox Tango 891 is around $650 in today, and it's a mobile type radio, the size of a cigar box, and here again it's all modes, 100 watts, 160 through 6 meters, very high quality performing radio, and relatively easy to use. The other end of the scale, we might recommend, if you want to have sideband on 2 meters and sideband on 432, as well as all the HF type privileges. You get up in around the $1,200 price range. You have the Fox Tango 991A, which here again is a superb performing radio. All the modern radios are good quality. I don't know of anyone from any of the major manufacturers that are not good quality and can do, get on and go for it. So those are the other main ones. Can you look for something really inexpensive, and because you just can't get in those price range? Well, the cheapest one that I recommend is the President Lincoln. The President Lincoln Mark II Plus version 3 can be bought for just under $300. It's 10 meters and 12 meter radio, 50 watts, and it doesn't drift. It's a good performer, and they give a good warranty on it. And go for it. Because let's say at the present time, that's you're busting your piggy bank to get there. Well, you can always sell it for about 2/3 of what you got in it. So, but you can also, when you get a bigger base station radio covering all the other bands, turn it into your mobile or your portable radio that you can operate in the park. Any comments on that, Kim? K6YYL, AA6DD.
AA6DD, K6YYL. Very good. No, it's all good. And just so we don't forget, let's talk about some antenna recommendations and how high you should try to get that antenna up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've kind of covered, well, you mentioned the Fox Tango 450 Delta from Yaesu, another radio that's in the $700 price bracket that is a good performer. Antennas. Well, here in Southern California, we have no problem in totally recommending being vertically polarized. Other parts of the country, there can be a problem there because all your neighbors may just strictly be horizontal. So to talk to neighbors, you might have to put up something horizontal in order to be compatible with your neighbors and talk locally. But generally speaking, if you can't get the antenna extremely high in the sky, it's best to have it vertically polarized because that lays it down on the horizon. It makes it capable of you working more DX more often. Here again, the optimum height for working most DX is to get it above the debris around you, all the houses and buildings and everything. So that's in the category of 30, 33 feet, 10 meters off the ground, kind of categories of how high you'd like to get a vertical antenna up. And that may be a little bit of a task, but here again, that's what you should shoot for. You could always just stick it up on the roof of the house if that's as high as you can get it, put it up there. One of the easiest things is to go around and see if you can't find old CB antennas. You see, you may have neighbors or an uncle or somebody that was on the CB. See if you can go get the old antenna, clean it all up, make it electrically connected good. If it's, let's say, a Mako, a 5/8 Mako, all you have to do is the vertical section on it, chop 1 foot off, and boom, it's a perfect 10-meter antenna. There's lots of information on the web and YouTube information showing how to build 10-meter antennas, verticals, and then put them up as high as you can. And of course, you can go out and buy something that's really good. Let's give it to Kim and see her recommendations, and then I'll do mine. K6YYL, AA6DD.
Well, I have the I think it's the Cushcraft R5, but they don't make those anymore, so you'd have to, or sell those anymore as far as new. But I think you'd have to find one of those used somewhere. But I know you're gonna recommend the high gain 620. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, the high gain AV620 for the money. And I'm going to tell you the good parts and the bad parts. Is a very good way to go. It's a full antenna, has built-in counterpulses, built-in toroid transformer matching, and it covers everything from 6 meters to 20 meters each in every band. And it lays all the energy down on the horizon to shoot towards your local communicating area, as well as to shoot towards DX. And it's about 23 feet tall. The other thing is, like anything owned by MFJ owns high gain. They don't always give you all the parts that you need. They make mistakes, okay? But it's still worth it. It's so inexpensive compared to something else. I bought one recently. In fact, we had friends that bought them. So we've had 3 of them being bought recently. And each one of them, some of the stainless steel nuts were the wrong size nuts. And a bracket was missing. And it was easy to fabricate a new bracket or take just a piece of copper wire, put electrical eyes on each end, and that way you could screw it in where the bracket's screwed in and make the connection on the antenna. But everything else is there. It is a complicated antenna to put together, so you do need somebody with some mechanical abilities to do it. So you might ask for help if you haven't put together an antenna before, because it is, like I say, it's a little complicated. It takes a while. It took me, I don't know how many hours all total, but I would say I spent 3 hours on it for 3 days in a row to get it all perfect and together. And then you put it up about 5 feet off the ground, measure the SWR on each band to see that it's where it's supposed to be. Has little tuning rods on it that you adjust to bring it into the band. And generally speaking, if you do what the manual shows, you'll be right on the money. I only had one rod that was off. I adjusted that rod and got it on. And then we've put it up in the air at 35 feet, and it's working extremely well. K6YYL, AA6DD.
AA6DD, K6YYL, and hopefully MFJ or whoever is, missing parts. Sometimes, hopefully, they will send a part, hopefully quickly, that was supposed to be in the box. Another thing I was going to say was that you could probably find somebody in your local amateur radio club. Hopefully you have a club locally that you can ask for some help with, and usually there's somebody there usually to help. So look for your local amateur radio club for contacts to people who may help you with that.
Especially the aerial affiliated clubs are dedicated to doing that kind of thing and giving you a hand on what you're doing. Secondly, you can get they will furnish the parts when you get a hold of them. How long it may take, but I didn't want to wait a week or two, so I just went down to the hardware bar and bought the stainless steel. And that's the other thing is you want usually aluminum for the conductive part, and then you want stainless steel for the screws and nuts and bolts so they don't rust. So it lasts many, many years. Now, of course, you can build very simple antennas. 10 meters, the quarter wavelength is 100 inches. So if you just take a wire that's big enough and thick enough that it can hold itself up, and you make it 100 inches long, and you make two of them, put them together in the center with an insulator, put insulators on both ends. I prefer, instead of making it perfectly horizontal, I think you're going to work more DX with a dipole if you actually make it a sloper. So you feed it right in the middle with your coax, make a good mechanical connection so that the antenna can hold the coax up, and then put it up as high as you can. If you do have a tree or something and that's the only support you got, fine. Go get a slingshot or something with a weight on it that you can throw over the tree branch. Get it as high as you can. Pull up one side of it, and the other side pull away on a slight angle, and have your coax drop straight down. Get it and then run it into the house, and you're on the air. That way, you're both horizontally and vertically polarized at the same time, and it'll work better DX. Like I say, leaning over vertical, getting more energy on the horizon. You will have a pattern that will actually favor the direction of the slope. So if there's a preferred direction that you want to try to communicate DX, say towards Europe, make the slope go towards Europe. K6YYL, AA6DD.
AA6DD, K6YYL. Very good, very good. That's all great advice there, and that's probably a lot cheaper too, right?
Oh, that's nothing. I'm sure everybody has enough wire. You can use old zip cord wire. In fact, let me show you how cheap you can go. If you could find an old coil of zip cord wire, and that's the old, the brown or black wire, the two wires before they had the ground wire on power leads on 110 devices. Find old two-wire zip cord, and let's say I just don't have, this is an emergency. I got to get on the air. All right, this is all I got. All right, so I measure back 100 inches, and I tie a knot there. I go to the other end of the zip cord, I cut it open, and I pull it apart. Now I've got a dipole. I take a piece of strong string or anything I got, and I tie onto the one end of the both ends. I tie a string onto the both ends of the zip cord that I've pulled apart. I do the same thing. I now go and I throw it up in a string over a branch. I pull up one end of the dipole. The other wire on the dipole or the string, I pull it off taut to something another tree or something on the ground, stake I put in the ground, and then I lead away on the opposite end, the actual zip cord, and I take the zip cord all the way to my radio. I clean the back end of the radio off. Zip cord is 75 ohms. It's going to have a 2-to-1 SWR or 3-to-1, but many modern radios will match that with a built-in tuner. If I can put a coax fitting on there, fine. If I can't, I don't have a fitting, I fold it back, I solder it into a bundle that will stick into the center pin tightly of the SO239 on the back of the radio. I clean back the other one, and I take a clean piece of wire and I wrap it around the SO239 to snug it against the SO239. I go around and I go on 10 meters, and I push the tuner to make it match as much as humanly possible. And I'm on the air in emergency mode. Go ahead.
Very good. That's good. Okay. Anything else? AA6DD, K6YYL.
Okay, Kim. Well, that just shows you how much things you can do. We have sporadic propagation on 10 meters, and it tends to be in the summer months, May, June, July, and the middle of August. It has usually a range of 1,000 miles, and it comes and goes anytime. It's sort of like a rainstorm. It may just be a sprinkle for a few minutes, or it may last a few hours, but it'll be gone for a few weeks and then show up again. And that's how sporadic is. It's a lot of fun, and you got to be out there calling CQ and looking for it. F-layer on 10 meters is a more wintertime phenomenon. It's most optimum in October and November, and then in February, March, and April. Though it can happen if the sunspot cycle is high enough, or if you have a big, huge flare come off the sun, shut down all of HF, it'll push the MUF all the way up to 10 meters when it clears out. And that can happen any time of the year, even in the summer months. But those are the wonderful variations on 10 meters. Is a long-haul F-layer, which is a 2,000-mile phenomena. And whenever you get enough ionization from the sun, when the solar flux is above 100, then you can get start getting multiple F-layer hops and start working Europe or working Japan or New Zealand, Australia. There's a different mode towards the south. 10 meters opens to the south much more often on what's called transequatorial propagation to South Africa, Chile, Argentina, Peru, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, so forth. So there's a huge smorgasbord of activity, different kinds of modes, and as well as looking, get other local people on. Start your own local net on 28400 or something to chit-chat all the time. K6YYL, AA6DD.
AA6DD, K6YYL. Yeah, because a lot of people just sit and listen and they don't make noise. They don't call CQ. They're just listening, waiting for something to happen. And if everybody's listening, nobody's going to make a contact. So you got to make sure to, make some noise there, call CQ. And then also, call CQ at any time, day or night, because you never know what's going to happen. It is such a fun band that I've made contacts at midnight in the doldrums, when the solar cycle is not great, and to Australia. And we made that one years ago also to China. Will.
Well, that Chinese one was quite phenomenal. It was multi-modes. It was both sporadic getting us into the Pacific sunlight and F-layer propagation. The other thing is, when you have F-layer propagation, it'll always follow the sun. So where the sun is the direction the MUF is the highest. And that's the direction your DX is going to come in at on 10 meters. The first DX will always come in the direction of the sun for 10-meter F-layer. Go ahead, Kim.
Right, yeah, and that was after dark here for us. So that one was quite great, and I believe that was on just 100 watts for me at the time on the old radio I had. I believe I'll have to look at my log. I think it was the old Kenwood 130 sugar.
Yeah, well, what was so exciting about it, one, it was after dark, so the F-layer's gone away for 10 because we weren't on a super high sunspot cycle. 10 meters can have F-layer at night if our solar flux is at 200 or higher, but that and we'll probably see that by 2025. But oscillation in the noise wafting in and out. So I know it's sporadic E getting into F layer, so it's multiple modes. It's sitting that the sporadic E layer at about 100 kilometers up, going from there either back to the ground and then up, or straight on up to F layer at 300 kilometers up, and then bouncing however many times it needs to do to get to China. And so we were able to work him, but he was fading rapidly. And so then Kim got in there and started trying to work him, and he had already faded. He was gone. But Kim had 6-meter experience, and she knew on sporadic E to keep pumping, keep trying, don't stop. And so she kept calling, and you hear the guy come back up, and then he fade down, and then come back up. And bottom line is, he finally made one rise out of the noise, and Kim was able to do a full exchange with him and work him before he was gone for the next decade. Go ahead, Kim.
Right, yeah, that one took a long time, because everybody else after you had worked the Chinese station, then there was a bunch of others on 28.4 also trying to work him, and they gave up. And when they gave up and they stopped calling him, I started calling him, and I called him for almost 10 minutes, continuously. And yeah, finally, the waves came back, I'll call it that. So yeah, the QSB came, and everything started coming back, drifting out. And so a lot of QSB, of course, and very weak, but that was quite a thrill.
Yeah, well, it'll give you a happy memory forever there of that QSOB. Yeah, you've actually worked him after about 15 minutes was the time you finally worked him, but and I was sweating it. I was sitting here listening to it, and I was like, come on back. May the gods of propagation smile upon us once more.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. All right, well, anything else? AA6DD, K6YYL.
No, I think we covered quite a territory for the time being. There's a lot of complexities to a lot of this, but the bottom line is just have fun, and don't and have patience, and call CQ. K6YYL. Been a lot of fun going over this with you this morning, Kim. AA6DD.
Thank you very much, Will, and happy 76th birthday to you again.
Yep. I'm an old sucker, 76 now.
All right. AA6DD, thank you very much. K6YYL.
AA6DD, back monitoring 50.300 FM.